I remember I first saw it years ago when BJ Worth jumped out of a helicopter into it for the first time. And he called it a subterranean skydive. And then I remember Patrick de Gardon went there with Mark Hewitt, and they were the first ones to actually base jump it. And the footage that came out of that was just incredible.
That's what motivated me jumping, was like I saw Mexican Hole footage and like I decided like only practice base jumping in order to be able to jump there.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea to go jump that place too. It was beautiful. And also one of the cool things about the area is it has birds that live inside of it. It's called Santana de los Golondrinas, which from what I've been told means like the cellar of the swallows. And it has millions and millions of these little swallows that live inside the cave. They've set up all their nests along the edges close to the rim at the top. And you can just see them like create this huge bird tornado that flies inside the hole and then comes out in the morning time. And they usually, during the day, it's empty of birds, and that's when you can jump it. Because you can't really jump while the birds are there because, you know, you don't want to hurt the environment or hurt the ecology. So you wait for the birds to leave, you jump, and then in the evening times they come back and then you stop jumping. Okay, I first got the opportunity to go to the Hole in Mexico by meeting a guy named Omer Mardon. He's an Israeli extreme sports guy who does a bunch of base jumping and skydiving and snowboarding and ice climbing and all kinds of different things. So a few months later, I found myself in the Hole in Mexico with my friend Omer, and we went there and we did some jumps, and it was beautiful. It was probably one of the best base jumps I've ever done in my life. One, it's a very spectacular jump and it's visually very amazing to see because it's one of the few times you actually jump and are completely surrounded by cliff. It's not just the cliff is behind you anymore, now the cliff is in front of you. So when your parachute opens, it's like, whoa, cliff, 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 and you're like flying around circles going, whoa, there's cliff, oh God, everywhere there's cliff. So you're constantly trying to keep from hitting it, which is kind of cool. Yes!
Yeah, I went to Mexican Hole with a group of people. I think the trip was organized by Norwegians, and I don't think I knew anyone before I got there, and there were maybe 10 of us. And it was kind of an interesting crowd, like if someone did something, then the other one had to top it. And luckily we were there only for a week, because I'm sure there will be some like casualties, because people were trying to outdo each other all the time, like just doing acrobatics, people doing maneuvers such as horny gorillas, just linking their legs and just hitting their chest. And the other kind of a cool thing was like I jumped with a friend of mine, Paul, and he was on my shoulders. I think then we did a laid out gainer into the hole, and he was supposed to take a high slot and I was supposed to take a low slot, and just in the free fall he just started to laugh and kind of showed that he's not gonna pull, and I was basically holding my pilot suit and waited until he he ended up pulling. I watched his hands. When he ditched, I opened, and I had 90 left. I still couldn't make it to the landing area, and I probably had like 5 seconds canopy ride, and that was a little bit scary because Mexican Hole is a place where you don't want to get hurt.
I actually went back again a couple years later with another group of like friends, and then we had a good winch then. We were able to get out in 15 minutes, which was much, much better.
Yeah. The whole thing is like when you're in the bottom of the cave, it looks like you're walking on the moon. I mean, it's incredible sight. It's just like so surreal. I've traveled a lot and I've been like in very strange places, but that's such a unique place. There has never ever been anything like it. I enjoyed hanging around with other base jumpers a lot. When I started the sport, I lived in a small country of Finland where the press was following me a lot because I was a famous magician. And you know, then I went to some drop zone or some base sites and people didn't care who I was and didn't know who I was, so I could be myself. And the bond that you have with other base jumper is very strong. It's almost like surviving a war with each other, because you know, you experience life, you experience death, and these are the same guys. If you get hurt, they will save your life.
Before I started base jumping, I was kind of an antisocial person and didn't really talk to people very often. I didn't really have very many friends, and I was kind of reclusive. I also wasn't really very happy. And it's really interesting because when I started base jumping, I started traveling a lot more. I started getting around a lot of people who had very similar interests to myself, which I hadn't really been around when I was younger. I'd always been kind of a freak or an outcast, very different from other people who didn't really understand my way of living and the things that I like to do. So I always ended up doing things by myself. But when I started base jumping, I met a bunch of other people who thought down the same lines as myself, who looked at life in a very similar way and kind of enjoyed the same kinds of things that I enjoy. The sport has changed my life pretty much in every way possible. It has turned me from being a really dark, depressing, unhappy human being into a very happy, very fulfilled, very wonderful. I mean, my life rules. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anybody else's. My life has become, it's become a dream. I'm literally living a dream.